Usually when we talk about inspecting something for damage, there's this expectation of absolute undeniable precision.
Right, like it's totally binary.
Exactly. I mean, you drop your phone, the screen shatters, and you just point at the spider web of glass and say, well, it's broken.
Yeah, it's a purely technical assessment at that point. The evidence is entirely visible, and, you really don't need a specialist to tell you what happened.
But today, we're stepping into a scenario where that illusion of a clean technical assessment completely falls apart. We are diving into a professional operations and training document. It's designed for roofing contractors.
Yeah, it's part of a curriculum called Storm to Profit.
Right. And our mission today is to look at how a seemingly mundane, everyday situation, like a roof inspection, actually hides a massive, high-stakes psychological encounter. So, okay, let's unpack this, because this document identifies a really fundamental misunderstanding that most contractors have about what they actually do for a living.
They do. They assume their job is just construction. I mean, a contractor pulls up to a house after a major weather event, grabs a ladder out of the truck, and thinks their sole purpose is to find damaged shingles.
Just looking for the broken stuff.
Exactly. But what this training manual points out is that the technical assessment of the roof is, well, it's entirely secondary. What's fascinating here is that what's really happening is a psychological assessment, and it's taking place entirely in the homeowner's mind.
Wow. Okay, so we really need to put ourselves in the homeowner's shoes for a second to understand why this is so critical. You're the homeowner. A violent storm just hit your neighborhood.
Which is incredibly stressful on its own.
Right. You're stressed about the structural integrity of your house. You are likely totally overwhelmed by this maze of insurance deductibles and depreciation schedules. And honestly, you're terrified of being scammed.
Oh, that fear of predatory storm chasers is incredibly common.
Yeah, the fly-by-night guys.
Exactly. Those shady operations that just roll into a town after a disaster, pressure people into signing over their insurance checks, take massive deposits, and then poof,
They just vanish.
they vanished without ever completing the work.
Which puts the homeowner's emotional baseline at a state of extreme caution. It kind of reminds me of taking your car to a mechanic when you don't know the first thing about engines.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right. Because your car is making a horrible grinding noise, you're stressed about how much it's going to cost, and you walk into the shop. When the mechanic pops the hood and starts poking around, you aren't actually evaluating their mechanical skills. I mean, you literally don't have the expertise to
I'm
do
not
that.
just nodding along.
Yeah. What you are really evaluating is their honesty. You're watching their body language, listening to how they explain things, and trying to figure out if they're about to, invent a problem that doesn't actually exist.
That is the crucial dynamic at play here. When a contractor talks about, say, the correct installation overlap for an architectural shingle.
Which is what exactly.
Those are the thick, layered shingles that give a roof that dimensional, textured look. But anyway, when they talk about the technical specs of those, the homeowner has absolutely no way to verify if that information is accurate.
They're just speaking a foreign language.
Pretty much. They can't verify the technical truth of the damage, so instead they try to verify the character of the person standing on their lawn. The inspection is the exact defining moment the homeowner decides whether they trust this stranger. Everything else in the business transaction hinges on that single decision.
So, if the homeowner is already on high alert for bad actors, how does a well-meaning, legitimate contractor actually disarm that anxiety? Because according to this training curriculum, most roofing companies are accidentally destroying that trust through their own daily habits.
Oh, absolutely. They sabotage themselves before they even realize it. The source material outlines what we might call the anatomy of chaos.
The anatomy of chaos. I love that.
It lists a barrage of really common everyday failures. We are talking about contractors taking random, disorganized photos, jotting down scattered, illegible notes on some piece of scrap paper in their truck.
Just totally winging it.
Yeah, having absolutely no clear process to explain to the homeowner what they are actually doing, leaving the property without a clear follow-up plan.
Now, wait a minute. I need to push back on one piece of that.
Okay, sure.
The data collection part. You mentioned taking random photos as a failure. But if I'm the homeowner, shouldn't more visual evidence automatically equal more trust? Like if I hire a professional and they take 100 photos of my property, my initial thought would be, wow, this person is incredibly thorough.
I mean, yeah, it seems logical on the surface, but consider what actually happens in practice if we connect this to the bigger picture. Data without a clear narrative isn't thoroughness. It's just noise.
Noise. Okay, how so?
Well, imagine the contractor comes down from the roof, shoves a cracked smartphone screen in your face, and rapidly scrolls through 60 blurry photos of random gutters, siding, and close-ups of asphalt, all while muttering to themselves about wind uplift.
Wind uplift.
Yeah, that's the aerodynamic pull that literally sucks shingles right off the wood decking during a severe storm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the homeowner doesn't know that. So as the homeowner, you are looking at these blurry photos and hearing this weird jargon, and you don't see thoroughness. You see a disorganized mess.
Ah, I see.
Because you are already primed to fear those fly-by-night storm chasers, right? That disorganized behavior immediately triggers your fight or flight response. Unstructured data makes the contractor look incompetent, and incompetence breeds mistrust.
I see what you mean. We have all experienced this in some form, right?
Yeah.
You hire a professional, maybe a plumber or an electrician, and they show up looking so chaotic and scattered that you suddenly feel like you have to manage them.
Yes. You feel like you have to do their job for them.
Exactly. By trying to show more evidence, but in a really messy way, the contractor is actually confirming the homeowner's worst fears.
Exactly right. They fail the psychological test because their operational habits are just sloppy. A homeowner in a state of stress doesn't need a chaotic data dump. They need a guide.
Which brings us to the cure for this chaos. If unstructured data triggers a homeowner's anxiety, how does a contractor actually format their physical presence to keep the homeowner's nervous system regulated?
Well, the source material pivots here to a very specific systematic rhythm that builds trust. And it starts way before the ladder even comes off the truck.
Okay, lay it on me.
The training refers to this as the before and during rhythm. This is where the psychology translates into rigid business operations. Before the inspection even begins, there is a strict checklist. The company needs to confirm the appointment. They need to verify the address.
Oh, I imagine going to the wrong house is pretty bad.
It's an immediate, often unrecoverable credibility killer. Showing up to the wrong house or calling the homeowner by the wrong name, you're done. They also need to review the specific storm context. Like, are they looking for hail damage or are they dealing with straight-line winds?
Straight-line winds.
Yeah, those are sudden violent gusts that push outward from a thunderstorm like a plow. Very different damage profile than hail.
Gotcha. So they aren't just showing up blind. They actually know the narrative of the neighborhood before they park the car.
Yes, and perhaps most importantly, they need to understand the homeowner's core concern before they even knock on the door.
Okay, why is that so important?
Well, if the homeowner mentioned a leak in their kid's bedroom over the phone and the sales rep arrives and only talks about replacing the gutters, the homeowner instantly feels unheard. The rep has to arrive fully prepared to address the specific pain point.
It's a lot like an airline pilot. Yeah, think about that pre-flight routine and the intercom announcement before takeoff. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be cruising at 30,000 feet. We're expecting a smooth ride with a little turbulence over the Rockies, and we should land right on time.
Right, setting expectations.
Exactly. As a passenger, I have no idea how to actually fly a commercial jet, but I desperately need to know the flight path. It calms me down. Just like the passengers on that plane, the homeowner needs to know exactly what the contractor is going to do before they do it.
That pilot mentality is the perfect way to look at the during phase of the inspection. The source prescribes a very deliberate rhythm to maintain that calm. It starts with a professional greeting, followed immediately by a clear explanation of the process up front, setting the flight path, as you said.
So literally just saying, here's exactly what I'm going to do for the next 20 minutes, here's where I will be walking, and here's when I will come back to talk to you.
Precisely. Only after setting those expectations do they conduct the physical roof assessment and the exterior check. And as they do this, they aren't just taking random pictures. They are systematically gathering documented proof.
Building a case, essentially.
Exactly. Afterward, they sit down for homeowner education. And note the wording there in the curriculum. Education, not a sales pitch.
Oh, that's a huge distinction.
It is. Finally, they establish crystal clear next steps before they ever leave the driveway.
That structure just completely removes the mystery. Having a stranger walk around your house, climb on your roof, and peek into your backyard, I mean, that is a highly invasive
It
appointment.
really is. People's homes are their sanctuaries.
Right. But by narrating the process and sticking to a transparent checklist, it transforms what feels like an invasion of privacy into a collaborative professional consultation.
It completely regulates the anxiety. And that structured documentation they're gathering during this process serves a really critical dual purpose. It anchors the homeowner in reality during the appointment, but it also becomes the essential fuel for the rest of the business's operations.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. We're talking about using the most boring tool imaginable, administrative documentation, like taking notes and labeling photos, to neutralize a high-stress situation.
It sounds counterintuitive, I know.
It does, because most people view admin work as the chore you have to do after the real work is done. But the source material emphatically states that documentation is sales power. How does a simple, boring photo of a dented gutter actually act as a mechanism for sales?
Because it replaces persuasion with proof.
Oh, I like that.
Think about it. Traditional sales tactics often rely on charm, negotiation, maybe some subtle pressure, like take my word for it, your roof is in bad shape, you need to sign this contract today before the damage gets worse.
Which just inherently triggers defensiveness. Nobody wants to be pushed like that.
Exactly. But when you have meticulous documentation, clear, well-lit photos of specific damage, detailed property notes, a written record of the homeowner's exact concerns, you remove the take my word for it factor entirely.
We are just presenting objective reality.
Right. A photograph of a hail strike on a soft metal downspout isn't a sales pitch. It's an undeniable fact. When a contractor sits next to the homeowner and reviews that evidence together, the dynamic shifts. The homeowner feels educated. You are no longer an adversary trying to convince them of something they can't see. You are a consultant helping them interpret facts.
It is a very clever way to lower their guard by simply being transparent. And the source notes that this documentation does heavy lifting far beyond just getting the homeowner to sign the contract.
Oh, yeah. It impacts the entire lifespan of the job.
Right, because it provides the exact proof needed to justify the financial estimate to an insurance adjuster. It protects the contractor from liability, too. Like if a window screen was already torn before the crew arrived, the initial inspection photo proves it.
Which saves everyone a massive headache.
Yes. And it vastly improves the eventual handoff to the production crew.
That handoff is where so many companies fail. I mean, imagine a production crew showing up to install the new roof, and they don't know where to park the heavy dumpsters because the sales rep never took an exterior photo of the driveway layout.
Oh, so they accidentally blocked the homeowner's car in the garage or something.
Exactly. Suddenly, all that trust the sales rep built up at the kitchen table evaporates because the company operates in silos.
Which proves that the inspection isn't just an isolated event. It is the data gathering node that feeds the rest of the company. But, as our sources point out, even with a flawless inspection, incredible empathy, and perfect documentation, the entire job can easily be lost if the operational follow-through fails.
The dreaded post-inspection drop-off.
It's the worst. You do all the psychological work to build trust, you gather the undeniable proof, and then...
the company just goes silent.
Right. You can think of the company's operating system kind of like a central nervous system. The inspection is just the optic nerve gathering visual data. But if the brain doesn't process that data and quickly tell the hand to move, to actually send the proposal, the body is essentially paralyzed.
That's a really good way to visualize it.
And the homeowner is just sitting there waiting, and the void of information gets filled with their returning anxiety. They start thinking, why haven't they called? Are they blowing me off? Maybe they really are a scam.
And that is exactly when the homeowner calls a competitor. The source highlights that an alarming number of jobs are lost simply because companies fail to send the recap, the estimate, or the formal proposal quickly enough. This raises an important question, though. We really have to zoom out from the individual sales rep on the roof and look at how company owners manage this entire ecosystem.
So how do business owners prevent this paralysis? Because it sounds incredibly complex to manage if you have, say, a team of 10 different sales reps doing 10 inspections a day all across the city.
It is complex. To keep the nervous system functioning, owners have to rely on rigorous, unyielding metrics. They cannot just assume their reps are doing a good job because they smile a lot at the door. They must track specific data points that reveal the health of the process.
Okay, walk me through those metrics. What exactly are they looking at, and why do these specific numbers matter so much?
The source outlines a very specific dashboard. First, you track scheduled inspections versus completed inspections. Basically, are reps actually showing up to the appointments?
Seems like the bare minimum, but yeah, important.
Then you track how many estimates were created from those completed inspections and how many formal proposals were officially sent to the client.
So you're looking for where the process gets stuck, the bottlenecks.
Precisely. One of the most revealing metrics is the close rate, specifically after the inspection. If a rep has a high rate of getting onto roofs but a terrible rate of actually closing the deal afterward, it tells the owner something very specific.
that they're good at the door but bad at the table.
Exactly. It shows the rep has great interpersonal skills initially, but terrible documentation and education skills at the kitchen table. They are failing the second half of the psychological test.
That makes total sense. The data basically tells a story about human behavior.
It really does. And perhaps the most critical metric of all is the time elapsed from the inspection to the proposal delivery.
Ah, because of that anxiety void we talked about.
Exactly. Mathematically and psychologically, if that time stretches out past 24, 48 hours, the close rate plummets. But managing this level of interconnected data, the photos, the notes, the timestamps, the conversion rates, it's utterly impossible with just a whiteboard and sticky notes.
Which explains why the source material points heavily toward dedicated operational systems. They specifically mention platforms like RoofCommand CRM being utilized to manage this massive workflow. Because when you break it down, a CRM in this context isn't just a digital address book.
No, not at all. It is the actual brain of the operation you mentioned earlier.
Right. It handles the initial lead intake, schedules the inspection, securely stores all that vital photo documentation we talked about, generates the financial estimates, sends out the proposals, and then if you actually win the job, it cascades right into handling the invoices, generating purchase orders for materials, tracking job costing, calculating rep commissions, and even giving the owner a real-time profitability dashboard.
All connected.
Every single step relies entirely on the data gathered from the step right before it.
The software platform is really the structural glue holding the entire methodology together. It takes the inherently chaotic reality of contracting, weather delays, stressed homeowners, complex insurance claims, and forces it into a predictable, measurable workflow.
Turning chaos into order.
Exactly. And this brings us to the ultimate lesson for the business owner. Small businesses often hit a ceiling and fail to scale because they treat an inspection as just going out to look at a roof. But a true professional understands it is an interconnected node within a unified operating system, stretching all the way from the very first phone call to the final profit margin.
It completely reframes the entire industry. I mean, if you adopt this mindset, you aren't actually in the roofing business. You are in trust building and data management business. The roof just happens to be the arena where it all plays out.
Well said. And when you successfully apply that rigid, predictable operational rhythm to a high-anxiety human interaction, you don't just win a contract, you deliver peace of mind. In a chaotic post-storm environment, peace of mind is the most valuable, scarce product you can possibly offer.
We have covered a lot of ground today, from the murky psychological waters of a vulnerable homeowner's trust to the specific pilot's checklist rhythm of a professional inspection, all the way up to the CRM metrics that keep the business's nervous system firing. It really illuminates how a seemingly simple task, just looking for broken shingles, is actually an incredibly complex moment that requires deep empathy and airtight back-end systems to succeed.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that operational excellence isn't just about corporate efficiency or maximizing profit. It's really about serving the client better in their moment of maximum vulnerability.
Absolutely. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Think about the professional inspections or assessments you perform in your own work or life. When someone brings you a problem, whether you are in IT diagnosing a server issue, in healthcare consulting with a patient, or even just helping a friend navigate a personal crisis, are you just looking for the technical broken shingles to fix? Or are you actively managing the anxiety and trust of the person you are helping? What would happen to your success rate and your relationships if you created a rigid, transparent pre-flight checklist for your own daily interactions? Until next time, keep digging deeper.